What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto parents survived and saw how Naruto was treated? If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description box to original creator of this beautiful creation. I've grown tired of it, sick and tired of it. The villagers' hateful and scornful looks, the hazing by the drunks, the shitty big empty mansion, the beatings, being ignored by everyone, all of it. Hello, my name is Namikaze Naruto. I am the son of the Yondaime Hokage. You would that this tidbit of knowledge would make that entire last chapter impossible, right? Wrong. You see, although I don't like to talk about it, I am the Jinchuurikis of the Kyuubi no Kitsune, nine-tailed fox. Otherwise known for short as the Kyuubi. I know this because the villagers openly call me the Kyuubi brat. One night, when I was 4 and came home from being ignored and scolded at the playground for trying to make friends, I asked my near absentee father what they meant. He openly told me as plain and filled with as little emotion as possible. Because you have the Kyuubi inside of you. When my father told me this, I continued to ask him what it was, and he proceeded to tell me, in between swishes of sake down his gullet, the tale of the night I was born. At first I was horrified. I asked my father if I was the Kyuubi. What a big mistake that was. For that one question brought upon the most hurtful thing anyone in the village had ever said to me. Sometimes I'm not sure, with equally as less emotion as before. At first, I laughed at this. I figured my father, whom I found out later wasn't always a drinker, was being completely serious. To think that my own father, whom is the only person I thought loved me, or even cared for me, wasn't sure if I was an evil demon or not. From that point on I went onwards with my pointless existence. Every now and then I would pull a prank or two, maybe paint my name on a couple buildings. Just to get people to talk to me if they saw me on the street. Be they angry villager or not. By the age of 5 I determined to myself that I am in fact, a demon. And so therefore I stopped trying to be loved or nurtured. I knew it was never going to happen, so why try? And it's not like I could leave the village. I am the honorable son of the Hokage. I had Anbu watching over me 24/7. Whom, I might add, are the bane of my existence, had they not intervened in every single beating near the end when I would finally begin to feel the sweet, sweet welcome of death. Unfortunately I couldn't even kill myself. Every time I tried, Kyuubi intervened. Drinking bleach. Kyuubi chakra coats the liquid and makes me barf it up so it can't touch my organs. Hanging. Kyuubi chakra lifts me up and surrounds my neck so it cannot break. Slit my throat, wrists, massively quickened healing. And now, I am 12, after failing the academy test for the 3rd time. Thank you Mizuki-sensei, I am still not a ninja. I have decided to give up. Why would a demon amount to anything ever? Never, that's when. At least in this village. Thanks to my absentee drunken father, I was able to sneak into the family dojo and learn a few basic Chunin level ninjutsu, none of which have anything to do with the academy graduation exams. And now I am currently fleeing the village with 2 scrolls and enough supplies to last me until the next village or town. In my pack, in addition to food, I have the scrolls teaching Rasengan, and another teaching Hirishin, my father's signature jutsu. I figure that I can go somewhere, probably Kumo, because Iwa is entirely too hostile towards my father, and trade them the jutsus in exchange for citizenship, maybe even shinobi status if I'm lucky, but hey, what can I, a demon, expect? I'm not good, never will be. I'll just be happy with being able to make a couple friends. Whether they be lifelong or fair weather. I'd have to say, looking back, my biggest regret, besides choosing to be born a demon, at least I think it's a choice, would have to be never talking to the Hyuga heiress. She seemed very nice. But then again, there were a lot of nice people in Konoha, just none of them were nice to me. Even my homeroom teacher Iruka hated me. He saved me one time when I went out to the forest to do something in order for some boys to be my friend, but something tells me it was on my father's order. Even though he would love to see me dead, he would hate to give the enemy ninja get the satisfaction of slaying the demon child and son of the Yondaime Hokage in one fell swoop. Needless to say, I had been planning this escape for a long time. I placed a shadow clone in my bed, awaiting my sure-to-be drunken father for when he discovers the missing scrolls. I escaped by using an earth-style jutsu I learned from my godfather Jiraiya one time to dig a hole that led to a little less than a mile outside the village walls. Thankfully it was barely big enough for me and it didn't end at a lake, so then he would have to send several squads of ninjas to come and get me if he decides to get me. I apologize, but if I am going to get killed and or caught, I am going to make it a challenge at least, damn it. I then proceeded to send out a couple dozen shadow clones in 12 different directions from my own, each headed to a different village if not dispelled first. If there's one benefit to being a demon, it's enough chakra to keep 13 shadow clones as well as myself going for days on end. They are each ordered to dispel themselves upon arrival should they reach their predetermined villages. And then later from that, as if the gods themselves felt pity for me, they made it rain. And so then not only did that wash away my scent, I was then able to strip and roll around in the mud so as to hide what was left of my scent. All my plans have come to fruition, and by this time next week I will be a fully fledged citizen of Kumo. Or so I plan, at least. Minato's point of view. As I finished the last bit of paperwork, a familiar bout of dread came over me once again. Are you sure that there is no more paperwork left? Minato pleaded. Yes, Yondaime-sama, I am sorry. I know you loathe going home to see your so. The assistant paused as his lord raised an enraged eyebrow. He almost said the no word of all no words, the Kyuubi brat, but I am afraid that is all the paperwork that we have for today. But again I ask you, if you hate it so much, why don't you just kill it? Ow! The Hokage sighed, and as I have told you before, despite my hatred for the thing, it would make me look like a terrible person for killing my own son. He said that last word with as much hate, scorn, malice, and venom as he could muster. Besides, if we were to kill it, the Kyuubi would simply be reborn in another couple of years. Besides, who knows, if he does ever get over how weak it is, it might prove useful in the coming years to have our own Jinchuuriki. I mean, look at Kumo, they have two, and were it not for me, we would have been crushed and destroyed in the last war, Minato said, with a matter-of-fact tone. Well fine then, have a nice night, Hokage. My secretary said as he walked away. I responded, not looking forward to seeing that freeloading little shit that lives in my house. As I walked back, I thought to myself of how my life had been ruined since the Kyuubi was ripped out of Kushina. At the night of the attack we were both so happy, our love was about to grow with the addition of a new family member. Unfortunately, Madara, in the form of fate, had other plans. Since that night my love for the so-called child had grown into resentment. That thing had been the cause of my wife's death, as well as my good friend and predecessor, Sarutobi Hiruzen, in addition to my student Rin. Then it did the worst thing of all, it started calling me daddy, and kept expecting hugs. Hey, I know I am the greatest shinobi this world has ever seen, but must I really subject myself to being polite and loving, God forbid caring, to that monster? Luckily my good friend John Sake, or whatever the goddamn brand's name is, to help me deal with it along the way. On my lucky nights it's already asleep, or I won't come home at all. Just pass out over my sweet paperwork. Tonight is one of my lucky nights. It is asleep, thank God. Now, just to make sure my real pride and joy, my two jutsus, the Hirishin and the Rasengan, were doing. I want to make sure they have been undisturbed since I was last there. Can't risk letting the demon learning such powerful and deadly jutsus. Strange, it appears the Shadow Clone, Advanced Henge, and several taijutsu scrolls have been messed with recently. No matter, if the demon wants to train, let it train. No skin off my bones. Yet, oh shit, I bellowed in pure terror. My two beloved jutsu scrolls were missing. The demon must know something of this. I barged my way up to its room and opened the door with enough killing intent to scare a retarded chimp. Dude, word to the wise, if you see a retarded chimp, run the fuck away because they have her on a superhero level of strength. I saw the demon, sleeping in its bed with a, what's this? A smile. Oh, it definitely did something with my two beloved babies. I tried to calm myself down. Easy Minato, you can't hit him, it would get around to other villages that you would be a child beater. I am a good person. I don't beat kids, but I might beat a demon later in life. I then remembered what was in description of some of my paperwork today. The academy graduation exams were today. If the demon failed this time, I will pull him from the program, pull the demon from its belly and place it in a person's more worthy belly, or marry him off to Kumo. Their Jinchuurikis could help us for sure. I searched around the room for a Hinata, since I couldn't remember the demon's human form's name. I haven't called him by that in so long. It's usually just things like, demon, or hey you. Nope. No headband in sight. That's it. It's piqued my anger. I don't care what the villagers think. This thing is good for nothing. I swung. Then there was an immediate puff of smoke. A shadow clone? Damn it. It must have learned it from the scroll. Calm yourself, Minato. It's escaped. Despite how worthless it is, you still need the Kyuubi to deter other villages from attacking. I calmed myself, and told the two Anbu whom at the time began to stand behind me to send out a single search party to find it and bring it back for its punishment. Right now I don't know what that is. But I do know it will be painful at first. No matter if it ends up underground or in Kumo. General point of view. When Minato sent the tracking team, it had taken 30 minutes for them to have gotten so much as a scent of any kind from him. They had then discovered another fun little tidbit. There wasn't just one scent, there were 13. Minato had sent 3 more teams, each team consisting of 2 shinobi each. He had decided, he didn't care anymore. When it got back here, he was going to place the Kyuubi in a more worthy host. Make sure it was considered a hero. And he was going to make sure the thing he once called his son was dead. Meanwhile, Naruto had arrived in a small town just a little bit of a stone's throw away from Kumo called Saigo no Nozomi. A.N. Last hope. There he had sold what little clothes he had packed in order to get money for a room at an inn. It's not like he was going to need them in Kumo, right? The next morning, about 5 of his shadow cones, including the ones in his room, were dispelled. That left him 6 shadow clones to go. And for the first time he could remember, he was happy. He was safe, and dead set one going to Kumo. If they didn't accept his deal and instead just killed him and took the jutsus, he wouldn't care. He would be happy. He could finally die and hopefully rest in peace in hell as the demon he is for the rest of eternity. And Kumo would have his father's deadliest jutsus at their disposal, so then they could cause his deadbeat father as much pain as he had caused him. Well, luckily Naruto had decided to put a shadow clone in his room to be on guard while he slept for exactly 6 hours. Those were the orders he gave his clone anyways. He didn't trust the inn. It looked sketchy, by that I mean it looked surprisingly hand-drawn. Sure enough, at around 3 in the morning, about an hour after he fell asleep, there was an intruder. She wore mostly black but had a long, slender form. In other terms, she was a babe. She quickly destroyed the shadow clone, which had awoke Naruto because of the abrupt knowledge transfer. He tried to prepare himself but she was too quick. Naruto was happy. He knew now he could finally feel the sweet, loving embrace of death at last. But that too was taken from him. As she stopped in mid-kunai's stab and her long, slender red hair fell to the sides of her head as well as her kunai as she began to sob with what Naruto had rarely experienced. A smile, which she wore on her face. In between her third and fourth sobs she was able to make one coherent phrase. Naruto? The long-haired redhead asked out of pure hope. The light from a nearby lamp caught her face as Naruto's eyes popped open to look at her. He recognized this woman, but he had only seen her in pictures and believed she was dead. Mama? Naruto asked as tears swept down his face. But this time, they adorned his face out of hope, not out of sadness. And by the time I came to, I had forgotten who I was and a strange man told me he had rescued me from an evil place. Kushina started. Tears began forming in the corners of her eyes, and he convinced me I was a petty criminal. And that he would let me live if I worked for him. Kushina finished. The tears in her eyes fell free from her eyes' grasp and she couldn't tell if they were caused by the memories of all the awful things she'd done and been a part of, or joy because that was all over now. She'd be protected by her fantastic husband and sure to be strong boy. Then something in her head clicked. Where's his headband? Why is he so far away from home? What is in those scrolls? He must have ran away. But why? To look for me? Surely Minato can't have mistreated our baby? I'll just ask him. Naru-chan? Why are you so far away from home? Are you on a mission? You didn't run away, did you? Kushina gasped a little bit as she said that last part. All Naruto could do was nod. He tensed his muscles, preparing for a beating from his long-lost mother. What happened, Naru-chan? Why did you run away? Kushina asked. She made a point to keep using the nickname. She saw him tense up and knew what he was expecting. She was a Jinchuurikis once too. Naruto felt nothing but pure fear at that point. Fear of being beaten to the point where he would feel only pain and not be allowed death. Fear that his mother would just reject him as his father did, fear that his only hope of not being alone would be yoinked from him by the will of the gods. He is a demon, nothing will change that. Who is he to say that he deserves happiness? Naruto began to speak. As he spoke he wielded a stutter that would make Hyuga Hinata swell with stutterer's pride. BBBB because daddy ha hates me. Naruto finally stuttered out. As Naruto spoke, Kushina felt a tidal wave of emotions wash over her. First she felt anger. How could he hate our baby? Because of the fox? She thought she married a better man than that. Sadness, because he must have had a harder life than her. She only had the fox since when she was about 8 or 9, when the Shodai's wife died. What? Why? Kushina asked, anger, loathing, and a hint of sadness evident in her voice. Naruto became overwhelmed with fear at this point and did what he always did when he thought somebody was angry with him. He curled up into a ball to wait for the pain to stop. Kushina, realizing this, immediately burst into tears and wrapped his entire body in a warm embrace around her arms, while slowly whispering over and over again into her son's ear, "I'm sorry." As she did this, Naruto wasn't sure what to do but thought that even though this person might hurt him later on, it was worth the risk to feel a little amount of comfort, if even it was for a short while. And he allowed himself into the hug as tears once again adorned his face. These weren't tears of pain, my friend. Oh no, 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 no. He had long since outgrown crying out of physical or emotional pain when his father hadn't visited him after getting crucified by a bunch of radicals on his birthday. No, these were tears of relief, tears of joy. There was finally a person to be able to tolerate hugging him. He had had people whom were nice to him, like the people at the ramen stand, and his godfather Jiraiya. But he was only there once every few months and all he did then at most was ruffle his hair, go peep on some girls and go to sleep. Not exactly a father-son replacement relationship. Finally, after about 30 minutes of just holding on to each other, as if they were to let go they were never to see each other again, Kushina spoke. He hates you because of the Kyuubi, doesn't he? Kushina asked, a little sliver of hope left for her husband. Maybe their son had the wrong idea, that he had been neglected because of her husband's work as Hokage, instead of the obvious. All Naruto could do was nod. He was still tense from before, he was prepared for the beating of a lifetime. This woman knew about the Kyuubi. Maybe she didn't know before. After all, even a mother could not be capable of loving a demon. Demons didn't deserve love. Demons were only allowed to experience hate. Naruto would have loved to dish out hate. But he refuses to prove people right about him. With that simple action, Kushina's heart sank. How could Minato hate Naruto for one? Something he had no control over, and two, something that she, his so-called lifelong love, had once been. Then, something, as they say, went off in Kushina. After she had given Naruto a swift, strong, reinforcing hug. She had formulated a plan, a very simple plan. And by the end of it, Minato would have been severely punished, and Naruto would finally have a family. Kushina spoke, a certain, new glimmer in her eyes. Naruto-chan, where are you headed? Surely you aren't staying here all your life, are you? No, Mom? That word was still new and awkward to Naruto. He never thought he would never be able to say it. I have Dad's 2 signature jutsu scrolls and am going to Kumo to give them to Kumo in exchange for citizenship, Naruto finished, leaving a partially startled Kushina. Okay, Kushina said, her head full of thought. Naruto's new submission of information had put a considerable dent in her plans. But she was nothing if not flexible, which was amongst Minato's favorite things about her. Not that he'd be able to enjoy that fact, ever again, winking face. Okay, I've got it. Naru-chan honey, could you please not go to Kumo just yet? I have a plan to get things the way they should be. And hopefully, by the end, you'll be able to forgive Daddy for all that he's done to you. Sound good? Kushina told her now confused-looking son. Okay, if you say so, Mom. But where should I go instead? You don't want me to stay here, do you? There's no food, there's mold everywhere, and worst of all, the couple next to this room won't stop fucking. Naruto said, his mother's face now flabbergasted. Kushina was understanding and shocked at the same time. Had her precious little baby boy just said fuck so casually? And he knew what it meant. Oh, Minato was going to get it. Or who knows, maybe that was Jiraiya's fault. Whatever. But he did have a considerable point, he couldn't stay here. It just seemed like a place to go for a good old down-home ramen. Okay Naru-chan, first off. I know you must not have been told not to say such things. But please, I know you're what? 12 now? But I still see you as my precious little baby boy, so please don't say fuck or you will be punished. MMK? Kushina said in the cheeriest tone she possibly could. A small stain could be seen forming down the right leg of his pants. Second. You're right. This is a very god-awful place, and my god, you were right about that couple. Jesus Christ, is it going out of style? Kushina asked as she began to clear 2 sets of clear and distinct moaning from the next room. Anyways, I want you to go here, Kushina said as she pulled out a map of the areas surrounding Kumo. She pointed to a small lake area. It's a little place your father and I went during the war. Stay there, in the morning you and I will go out and get you a week's worth of supplies. If I don't come back in a week, I want you to go back to Kumo. If you see an ANBU or any ninja, just hide underneath in the cellar underneath the lake house. As Naruto heard this, he wasn't sure how to take this. Should he listen and just believe that this was his mother, whom he believed to be dead since the night he was born? Upon some rapid problem-solving skills he somehow managed to learn at the academy, he concluded that he should give this woman a chance. He would wait 7 days, no more, no less. But he had one condition. Okay lady, I'll do it. But one condition, okay? Naruto asked. Okay? Do you need data ban? Kushina asked, her nervous tick of adding data ban resurfacing. Release your chakra please, so I know this isn't a henge or genjutsu, Naruto commanded. No matter how nice this woman had been to him the past hour, he can't be allowed to risk anything. Kushina was shocked a little bit. But as she elaborated more on it, she understood completely. Her son had probably never had another person be nice to him his entire life. And so, she nodded. Kai. Nothing changed but Naruto's face. It immediately illuminated with joy and pride. He swept up his long-lost mother in a warm, tight hug. And she almost immediately returned it. Meanwhile, in Konoha, Minato was furious. Not only was it loose, but they had no idea where it went. They had located him 5 times, each time they were shadow clones. Damn the Kyuubi for having so much chakra to give to its vessel. Minato's composed himself however by an Anbu stepping into his office. It was Wolf, otherwise known as Kakashi, his best friend and mutual hater of the Kyuubi. Rin's death caused a great emotional change in Kakashi. Ever since Obito's death he had begun to be a tad nicer, more emotional. Rin's death brought him back to his original self, only a tad later for meetings and missions. Ah Kakashi, tell me some good news, tell me you found it. Minato said, hope adorning his face. No, sensei, I am afraid the Kyuubi is still on the loose somewhere. However, you have a visitor, Jiraiya the Sannin is here to see you. Kakashi said to his old sensei. Ah, fantastic, I could use some good news right now. Let him in, Minato said, a little bit of cheer in his voice. As Wolf stepped out, Jiraiya stepped in. Minato noticed the confusion on Jiraiya's face as he sat down. Minato, old boy, where's that little brat of yours? I'm in the mood for ramen. I see you're busy and I'd hate to eat alone, Jiraiya said, having no idea what exactly he was saying. Well, if you're referring to the Kyuubi, he escaped last night. We have no idea where it went, Minato told Jiraiya, frustration becoming increasingly evident in his voice. What? The Kyuubi took control of Naruto's body. How is everyone alive? Jiraiya asked in pure fear as he rose from his seat. No sensei, the Kyuubi didn't take over its vessel's body, it just ran away somewhere. Hopefully we'll find it dead if it knows what's good for it, Minato said. Fury and hate all but surrounding his voice. How could you say that, Minato? He's your son, Jiraiya said before massaging his temples while pausing. I will leave my reports with your secretary from now on. He got up and waltzed towards the door. You have lost your right to call me sensei based on your actions here. I told you to aim for peace. One cannot provide peace if hatred exists in his heart, Jiraiya said before he finished walking out the door and handing his report to Minato's secretary. Damn it, Jiraiya, how could you not understand? It killed your sensei after all, Minato thought, then continued on with his paperwork. Deep in thought, and he just had to look and act so much like Kushina. Oh God, why did you have to take her from me? Minato yelled to himself as he collapsed his head and arms on his desk. His face slowly becoming riddled with tears. The next day as Jiraiya sat down at Ichiraku's ramen bar he was deep in somber thought. How could Minato have fallen so far? Did I do this to him? Oh god, poor Naruto. I must be a horrible godfather to have allowed him to go through this. Jiraiya's thoughts were interrupted by a certain redhead in a trench coat going to sit next to him. Hey there, Ero Sennin, Kushina said in a cheery voice. Jiraiya turned his head immediately, half out of hope, half out of shock. Kushina, Jiraiya practically yelled. Kushina, yes Ero Sennin. I'm back from the dead I guess. I wish you had woken up sooner, I just told everything to this nice family over here. Kushina said. A tad bit of sorrow cloaked itself in her voice. I really don't feel like explaining again, Ayame-chan, you remember what I told you right? Hee, hi Kushina-chan, the ramen maiden said. Good, tell Ero Sennin what I just told you while I enjoy my ramen would you please? Kushina asked. She had just ran all the way here from Lightning Country to tell her husband off and get their family back together. But she wasn't stupid enough to do it on an empty stomach. Jiraiya was starting to get annoyed. Kushina had called him pervy sage, while he agreed that name fit him. It didn't mean he liked it. Being as Kushina called him that the first 2 times he was still in shock, but upon coming out of his initial shock, he was about to get mad and yell at the redhead. But then he remembered her red, hot fury-filled punches and decided against it. His head already hurt emotionally, he didn't need it physically too. So as Kushina stocked up her stomach for what she was sure would rock Konoha on its very foundations, Ayame told the Toad Sage all about what Kushina had told her, with Kushina adding little tidbits, here and there. At the end, Jiraiya just wanted to make sure he heard everything right and decided to sum everything up for his own sake. So let me get this straight. You forgot who you were, and what you did, when on the night of the Kyuubi attack you were hit by bandits. Jiraiya paused, still processing the information he had been given. And they told you that you were a bandit. And since then you've just been robbing people ever since. Jiraiya paused again. That is until early this morning when you came in contact with Naruto. And all of your memories came rushing back to you? Jiraiya finished, confusion still shown in his voice and behavior. Kushina nodded. Yup, that's right. Kushina said immediately after nodding. So, what's new in Konoha? And how is my husband still alive? I heard he was going to use the Shikifujin to seal the Kyuubi into our son. But he's still here from what I hear. Ah, well you see. Sensei saw Minato about to use the seal, then shortly argued with Minato about not leaving you and Naruto alone when Naruto was a Jinchuuriki. Jiraiya started, then took a good slurp of ramen so as to pause for dramatic effect. This would be his revenge for her calling him Ero Sennin. And so, Minato being the stubborn bastard he is, refused to ask Sarutobi to do the sealing, and so Sensei knocked Minato good upside the head, thus knocking him out. Next thing you know, Sarutobi used the Shikifujin, thus dying honorably as the village hero. And Minato wakes up in the hospital the next morning. Jiraiya finished, leaving a somewhat confused, but overall understanding Kushina. Okay, but, Kushina said, how do you know about this? How else? Minato told me. Jiraiya then sighed. I take it you know what he thinks of your son? Kushina sighed herself. She was having a relatively good time reminiscing at the ramen stand. But then her reason for being there reared its ugly head again. Yeah, and I'm about to go and talk some sense into him, Kushina said somberly. Then, her voice found a little excitement. Wanna come and watch? Kushina asked, leaving Jiraiya a tad bit dazed, but nothing if not intrigued. Jiraiya nodded. Well then let's go, Kushina said as she pumped her fist in the air and headed towards the Hokage Tower with Jiraiya. While Kushina and Jiraiya were catching up at Ichiraku's, Minato was busy making a desperate last-ditch effort to find the Kyuubi vessel. Welcome Team Kurenai, Minato started, and congratulations of becoming Genin U3. Kurenai then decided to speak up for her team. Excuse me, Hokage-sama, but why are we here? Usually new Genin teams spend the first week or so training, getting to know each other, not doing missions as this summons suggests. I understand completely Kurenai, however this is a very special case. As Minato told them this, the new Genin gasped. You see, the KY heir kid has ran away. Hinata spoke up. She was aware the Hokage had a child. In fact she was quite smitten with him. So much so even her father noticed. Her father would always tease her by saying that he was headed to the Hokage's office to facilitate an arranged marriage of her to Naruto on nights when he would actually go to council meetings. Of whom are you speaking, Hokage-sama? My heir, son, of course. Minato told the team, eliciting a whole new slew of gasps from the rookie tracking team. Yes, yes. He ran away about 2 days ago, and I'm very worried about him. Yes, worried. Very much so. The blonde Hokage said, trying to seem worried as a proper parent should. Kurenai knew what was going on almost immediately. Naruto ran away from home because his father, as well as most of the village, ignored and mistreated him. She heard the rumors. She didn't want to believe they were true, that the Hokage would despise his one and only son. I understand, Hokage-sama, Kurenai started, but we are an entirely brand new team. We were just made an official team yesterday. Couldn't you just send some Anbu hunter nin to take care of this? I understand your concern, Kurenai, Minato started before taking another breath, however. I have done as you said and sent all available hunter nins to track him down. The little guy sure does know how to run away. He used shadow clones to make 13 different scent trails. So far we've only found about 5. Maybe more. I haven't received an update since around 1 o'clock this morning. I can't afford to send any more Anbu to track him down. I need them here in case of an emergency. A good Boy Scout is always prepared for anything. Minato continued, that being said, I noticed your team specializes in tracking and reconnaissance. So therefore, seeing as this is a tad of an emergency, I need all the help I can get. Seeing as we are at a state of peace and this is simply a missing person since he isn't even considered a ninja, you shouldn't run into any enemy shinobi. This is a simple C-rank mission. You are now the only squad I have working on this. Minato said as the door to his office opened almost as if on cue and an Anbu with a dog mask on walked in. Dog here will direct you to where the 13 scents begin in which scents were determined inconclusive. Minato spoke again as Dog approached his desk. Do we have an understanding, teammate? Hi, all 5 said before they bowed and stepped out of the Hokage's office. As the team walked out, one shy genin with blue hair and pale, deep lavender eyes thought to herself. Naruto-kun, why would you run away? Whatever it is that made you leave. I promise it won't be a problem anymore when we bring you back. About 30 minutes after Team 8 left the Hokage Tower, Jiraiya returned with a certain red-hired individual. Minato's secretary entered the room. Hokage-sama, drawing his attention away from the paperwork. Yes? What is it? I am busy, Minato said, frustrations of paperwork entering his attitude for the day. Jiraiya-sama and a woman are here to see you, their secretary responded, cheerful as ever, not minding his boss's attitude, know full well the extent of which he hated paperwork. Minato's mood lightened a little when Jiraiya's name was mentioned. He's probably come to his senses and is here to apologize. Send him in, Minato responded after a brief time to collect his thoughts. A smug grin creeping up on his lips. Hi, and with that, the secretary left. When the door opened again, he was happy to see Jiraiya. So happy in fact his grin forced his blue eyes shut. Not even noticing the redhead next to him. So Jiraiya, I take it you're here to apologize and help me reseal the Kyuubi into a more worthy vessel than that failure that likes to pretend it's human, Minato said, his eyes still closed. What did you just say? Minato's eyes opened at the sound of a voice he hadn't heard for around 12 years. Then his face became a scowl at the obvious attempt at a prank his sensei must be playing on him. Minato then turned to his old instructor, Sensei, this isn't a funny joke, you know how much I love and miss Kushina. He then turned to the redhead, her face seemed to be a fix of something between fury and confusion. I'm dreadfully sorry for him putting you up to this, miss. He got a tad miffed at me earlier and this must be his sad attempt at payback him, Minato finished, his voice calm and poised. But his voice held a suppressed anger hidden within his smile that only a skilled ninja such as Kushina could detect. Kushina, realizing the best way to explain that she was whom she appeared to be, and simply did the following. Kai, she released her chakra, and undid any technique she was using. Minato, upon seeing nothing had changed after she said that word, was overwhelmed with many emotions. Happiness that his wife was indeed alive. Regret for not finding her and accepting the lie that she had died, and many other emotions. But all he could bring himself to do was hug his long-lost wife, tears staining his cheeks. Kushina noticed this and desperately wanted to hug him back. But before she could give in, she remembered why she was here. To rain the pain on Minato for neglecting and despising their little bundle of joy. And, to ultimately, bring their family together again. As Minato noticed she didn't return the hug, he retreated from her arms and looked at her. "What is it, Kushina? Are you not happy to see me?" Minato asked in a hurried, rushed tone. "Yes, Minato, but not very much. I heard what you have done to our son." Kushina blurted in frustration and anger because she couldn't be there to stop the mistreatment of her son. "No, Kushina, you don't understand. He's not our son anymore. The Kyuubi has corrupted his soul. The council has told me so." Minato pleaded to his wife. Kushina's face became scrunched with anger as she pushed her way out of her husband's arms. "Horseshit. Who are you and where is the Minato I fell in love with?" Kushina said as tears started to form in her eyelids, but she refused to let them see the light of day as she shook her head in anger. "My Minato would have never listened to the council, and he loved me dearly, even though I had the Kyuubi inside of me." Minato then looked down in shame. It took his wife abruptly yelling at him to come to his senses. But only for a moment, as he remembered who she was. He wondered where she was all this time. "Oh yeah, well, where have you been, Kushina? We all thought you were dead." Minato sat down on his desk as his face fell in his hands. He continued. "I was so worried about you. I just knew you couldn't have died so easily, but then, Minato repeated himself, as if wanting to avoid saying some heartbreaking memory. "Then, he started to act just like you." Minato stopped for a second. Something was coming from his face. Was it tears? Minato began sobbing, speaking in a hiccuped fashion. "I couldn't take it, Kushina. Everyday hiccup, he just reminded me of you, hiccup. I couldn't take it, so I just." Minato was interrupted as he howled from grief. "I just resorted to hate." Minato yelled. He yelled it as though if he didn't say it then, he never would. "I thought that if I chose to hate hiccup and ignore him sob, it wouldn't hurt as much." Minato said in a state of pure grief. Minato continued. He seemed to have composed himself for the most part as he took one big deep breath and faced the two again. Jiraiya's face full of shock at his student's confession. His wife had the same scowl. It somehow appeared as she was angrier than before. "After some time, I began to want to ignore him so much. I made him fail the academy test 3 times. Just so I wouldn't see him for mission reports and assignments. However, as expected of our son, he passed with flying colors each time." Minato continued. Both of the other runes' faces scowled even more so than they were earlier. "How could he do such a thing?" Minato continued, averting his eyes once again from the judgmental sets of eyes across the room in the chairs. "I know it was wrong of me to do so. But it was all I could think of to keep from being reminded you were gone." Minato raised his head and looked into the angry eyes of his wife as he continued to speak. "I just love you so much, Kushina. I couldn't take the thought of being without you. The village just made it so easy to hate him." Minato was about to continue to speak when he was interrupted by the yelling of his enraged wife. "I don't give a damn, Minato!" Kushina yelled. She immediately gritted her teeth after she was done speaking. "You are his father." Kushina then took a deep breath. "While I am touched that you took losing me so harshly, it does not justify ignoring your son." Kushina paused and took another deep breath. "Minato, you do not know the pain it is to be a Jinchuuriki. It literally means, the power of human sacrifice. People look at you in disgust and hate. In some cases, they are beaten by the villagers, our son included. He told me," Kushina said in a surprisingly calm voice. Kushina then walked past Minato's desk and looked out the window as she spoke once again. "In all Jinchuurikis, there is a hole in their hearts. The only thing that they desire is something to fill that hole. Sarutobi took your place in the sealing process believing that you would fill that hole." Kushina sighed and took another deep breath before continuing. "And yet, you ignored him. Try putting yourself in his shoes, would you? If your own father, the only person in your life who is expected to love you unconditionally. And yet, you despised him so." Kushina was about to begin speaking again. Minato interrupted her. "I know, Kushina. Please forgive me. I will make amends when my ninjas bring him back. He will be instated as a fully fledged genin and I will train him every day and take him to ramen afterwards every night. Just please, forgive me. Don't be mad at me. I don't know what I would do if I were to lose you again." Please, don't be mad at me. Minato began to cry again. Don't leave me again. Kushina bent down to his level and spoke softly, oh. Minato, poor Minato-kun. Minato's head spiked up at the honorific as she continued speaking. I'm not angry at you. Minato sighed in relief. They both stood up and looked into each other's eyes as they held hands. Kushina soon spoke again. Minato, I was angry when Jiraiya had me be a guest star in one of his perverted books. I was angry when you engined our shower after you couldn't get the hot water to turn on. I was angry when you called me fat as a joke when I was 8 months pregnant. Don't do that, fellas, ever. Kushina looked back into her husband's eyes with a look that screamed kindness and understanding as she closed her eyes out of what appeared to be joy. Right now, Kushina tightened her grip on his hands. I'm furious. She then squeezed his hands with all her might. A disgusting crack came from his hands as his bones broke. She began to speak once again as he fell to the floor in pain. She still had his hands. He was putty in her hands. First you tell me some horse shit about him being the Kyuubi, then you tell me when you looked at him he reminded me too much of you, and now you tell me that when he gets back that you will make it up to him by showing some compassion. Kushina then tightened her grip to the point to where her fingers were able to touch. Minato, you will do as I say. And then, and only then will I begin to forgive you. The rest is up to our son. Kushina said, in a failed attempt to retain composure. Minato winced in pain but somehow muttered out a small, quiet, whisper of, anything. What was that, my dearest? Kushina asked sarcastically. Anything, Minato repeated, only slightly louder. Say that again? Kushina asked. She wanted a serious, clear, and definite answer brought about by Minato's legendary will. Anything, Minato said as hard and as loud as he could. Kushina released her grip. Good man. Kushina gave Minato a minute to recover before explaining what had happened in the past that made her go missing. After she was done, she started to tell Minato what he could do to begin to redeem himself. You will do this. When Naruto and I get back, only I can go get him. You will announce your sin to the village. And announce just how wrong you were. You will then step down as Hokage. Kushina was interrupted by Minato. What? Kushina-chan, I love you, but do I really need to give up my position as Hokage? Minato pleaded. Kushina was quick to answer, yes Minato, you very much are. The way I see it, how can you be prepared to protect the village if you failed to protect your only son in his time of need? He needed you, Minato, and you just turned your back and rejected him. Now if you even want to begin to seek redemption in my eyes you will keep your mouth shut and do as I say. Minato nodded as he sat back down, defeated. Good. Now, as I was saying, you will appoint either Jiraiya or Tsunade as Hokage. I am certain the council and the daimyo will be fine with your choice. As per your resignation, tell them to bring all complaints to me and my blade. Kushina said that last part while unsheathing a katana. Kushina continued, also, before you resign you will instate our son as a genin of Konoha. I think that's fair, seeing as he passed the test 3 times. Do all these things, Minato, and you will have begun your path of redemption. The only person left to apologize to at that time is our son. Yes, my love, I shall do all of these things. And I shall get our son to forgive me. In this, I promise, Minato said as he got up. Meanwhile, as Minato and Kushina were having some hardcore family drama worthy of the Entertainment Channel, Team 8's first mission led them dangerously close to Kumo. They then stumbled across a small cottage by a lake. It was getting late, so they decided to see if whoever was living there would let them spend the night. They chose to have Hinata ask whomever was living there as she had special training in being polite and poised for her clan. Hinata knocked on the door. No answer. She knocked again, same thing. She continued this process until the door finally creaked open and she saw a small figure huddled up inside of a closet with her Byakugan. Hinata gasped. She then spoke softly as she got closer to the closet where the figure was hiding. Naruto-kun? Is that you? Hinata saw the figure tense up as she mentioned the name. What's Naruto-kun doing here? He's entirely too close to Kumo for my comfort. Oh no, what if he's thinking of going to Kumo? I can't let that happen. Kumo is nothing but a bunch of kidnappers. Because of them, Neji Nisan is nothing but a being of anger. If his father didn't have had to go in place of mine per their demands, maybe things would have been different. What should I do? I know because of the Kyuubi Naruto has had it rough, but that's no reason to run away, is it? Please note, because Sarutobi died, the law he created pertaining mentioning the Kyuubi never was created, therefore everyone is allowed to talk about it. I don't think he is going to come out of the closet. Don't get excited, yaoi lovers, not in that way. Maybe I should ask him to come out, and we can talk about it. Maybe then he might develop feelings for me. Single quote. Hinata then developed a light blush. Okay Naruto-kun, I hope you're ready. I am going to open the door now. General point of view. Naruto-kun, what are you doing here? Hinata asked as she opened the door. Naruto, a little scared as she opened the door a tad abruptly, sighed and turned to face her. I ran away, Hinata-chan. Isn't that why you're here? Naruto asked, slightly tensing his body in order to be prepared for a surprise attack from the Hyuga. Hinata began to look down and twiddle her index fingers together as she talked, Hi Naruto-kun, I'm sorry, but we have been ordered by Hokage-sama to return you to Konoha. Hinata was cut off as Naruto spoke. Hinata-chan, wait, you don't understand. I ran away for a reason, you must understand. Naruto blurted out as he grabbed the girl's clothes. Hinata blushed fiercely as she tried to muster the courage to talk. Oh okay, na Naruto-kun. TT tell me why you LLFT. But you must hurry. My team is waiting for me a little while back, Hinata said, showing a true interest in Naruto's reasons for leaving the village. Naruto nodded. As he quickly told her the abridged reason for his leaving, her eyes slowly widened each time he told her of a reason, and by the end, her pure eyes were watery. So please just let me go, Hinata-chan. Please, I'll just go down in the cellar my mom told me about until you leave. Just please. Naruto paused as his eyes began to water himself at a few memories of Konoha. Don't take me back to that place. I will be forever grateful. And will do anything you want in return. Please, I'll do anything. Naruto begged and pleaded as he held on to the girl's coat. Hinata saw the familiar terror in the boy's eyes. She felt a wave of comfort and sympathy wash over her, giving her confidence. Mostly because she too was neglected by her father, maybe not hated like Naruto though. Before she spoke once more, she reached down and cupped his cheek with her newfound confidence. Oh Naruto-kun, Hinata sighed, I will let you go to Kumo. But on one condition, Hinata said as his face became a grin and she giggled like the little fangirl she was. Anything Hinata-chan, anything, Naruto responded with excitement. You must return to Konoha in 4 to 6 years, Hinata said as his grin turned back into a frown, but only to do a favor or two for me, then. You may leave, Hinata finished, as his face returned to a smile, but then fell in confusion. Wait Hinata-chan, what favors could you have that would be guaranteed to need to be done in that 2-year time frame? Seems oddly specific, Naruto asked. Hinata blushed as she dreamed of what would possibly happen when she was 16 to 18. Then she answered him, oh you'll see Naruto-kun. Now go ahead and get in the cellar. I'll just tell my team the cabin was empty. Hinata finished with a sweet smile that had a hint of devilishness to it. Oh, and Naruto-kun, he turned in response. Yes Hinata-chan? He stepped out of the darkness he was headed towards to get better eye contact with her. No, Naruto-kun, please go back into the darkness so I can't see you. It will make this easier and I feel I need to say this before you leave forever. Hinata pleaded, not looking into his beautiful cerulean blue eyes. Okay, Hinata-chan. Whatever you say, Naruto said as he backed up and tensed his muscles, preparing for an attack at any moment. Had she been planning some sort of attack all along and was just distracting me? Naruto thought. Hinata took a deep breath before she began to speak. Naruto-kun. For the longest time, since the academy in fact, I have admired you and watched you. Not in the creepy way, I promise. But anyway, I have always looked up to you, and how you were able to take all of the villagers' abuse with a smile on your face and a kick in your step. I have always wondered how you could do that. But now I know, you took it with a fake smile. But I don't care about that. And I want you to know, I don't care about Kyuubi either. Hinata said as she gasped and caught her breath so she could speak again. Naruto only tensed his muscles more, his trust not exactly 100%. Hinata looked down before rapidly turning her head towards him with small droplets resembling unshed tears in her eyes. I love you, Naruto-kun, Hinata said before she gasped once more. Naruto went into shock at those words. Nobody had ever loved him in his entire life. Now all of a sudden, everything this girl did made sense to him. Why she was nice to him, why she would sometimes give him money for food when he was beaten in the alley, why she would always apologize for things that weren't her fault when he failed an exam. He rushed towards her and pulled her into a deep hug. He was afraid that if he didn't do anything in response to her confession immediately, she would resent him for it. Take the hint, Kishimoto. Hinata's eyes widened in shock as her head whirled and thought, Naruto-kun is hugging me. Does this mean he returns my feelings? No, he's probably just being polite, but it's still nice. His body is so warm. Naruto spoke in response, never breaking the hug. Thank you, Hinata-chan. And while I cannot say I return you feelings, I can say that that's the nicest thing anybody has ever said to me. Also the first time somebody has ever said to me. As he finished, Hinata's eyes widened in shock. Nobody had ever told Naruto-kun that they love him. That's so sad. My father has never shown any interest in me, but he at least says I love you. I honestly think he's just disappointed in my skills is all. I wonder. Hinata spoke up. This next sentence would be the boldest thing she had ever said apart from her confession. Naruto-kun. Is it all right if I kiss you? Hinata asked, an obnoxious shade of red overcoming her features. Naruto was shocked at the offer, and the strange thing was, he was just about to ask the same thing. Naruto then nodded. As their eyes closed and their lips touched, only one word could describe it: right. It just felt right to the two of them. And as the two had never kissed anyone else before, they felt as though they had done it 1,000 times already. At this, Hinata couldn't help but get even more excited for 4 to 6 years from now. Anyone want to guess what her favorites are? That was nice, Naruto-kun. Thank you, Hinata said with her eyes closed, averting his gaze so as not to faint. No, Hinata, thank you. That was amazing. I can't wait for 4 years from now, just so I can see you again. Naruto responded with a massive grin on his now reddened face. Meanwhile, in Konoha, Jiraiya, Kushina, and Minato were still in the Hokage's office as Jiraiya thought of a new addition to Minato's redemption punishment. Tell me, Minato, does the general populace know of Naruto's disappearance yet? Jiraiya asked with a devilish grin on his face. No, I made a point not to tell anyone. Why? Minato asked. As he nodded, Jiraiya motioned Kushina over and they began to whisper together in secret until they broke apart and faced Minato with a stoic expression. What, more punishment? Minato asked. Hi, Kushina said. What is it, my beautiful wife? Minato asked, trying to alleviate at least some of the torture he would have to go through in order to receive his redemption. I will take over as Hokage for the duration of this punishment. You are to walk around town for at the very least a week in an advanced henge as your son, so as to experience just exactly the type of pain that he is subjugated to. Then, at the end of the week, if he still isn't back, you are going to do this every day for 6 months. If he still isn't found and I don't deem you worthy of this redemption, then you will continue to go through this process until I say you are worthy. Understand? Kushina explained in a stern voice. Minato gulped out of terror. He nodded. He knew this needed to be done. Good, I want you to start immediately. Make sure you have a very good henge and can't be detected so as not to ruin your punishment, Kushina said in a cheery tone. Minato then activated a henge and looked exactly like his son. Kushina then decided to speak up. Okay, Naruto, here are the rules for your punishment. Rule 1. While under the transformation you are to act exactly like our son. Rule 2. While under the henge, if you are attacked you are not to fight back, because 1. You could accidentally kill someone and 2. Naruto never fought back from what that sadistic bastard Kakashi told me. Remind me to kick his ass good before we're done here, by the way. And rule 3. You are not to dispel your henge for any reason. I know you might feel anger towards the villagers, but you can't undo your henge, or go out of character, because then you will get found out and ruin the experiment. Okay? Kushina finished while gasping for breath. Okay, Kushina honey, Minato stuttered in Naruto's voice. Jiraiya then decided to interject. No, Minato, Naruto only stuttered around you. At first I didn't know why, but this whole experience has been a total eye-opener. Minato nodded. Okay, Minato, I think you're ready. Now listen, to get things started I want you to try and run some errands while you're out. I want you to 1. Get some groceries that I have on this list here. Then I want you to buy some new clothes, those are god awful and our son isn't wearing that much orange as a ninja, it's just obnoxious. And 3. I want you to go buy yourself some dinner. I don't care what, but just get yourself some because I am not cooking for you for a while. Kushina finished. Alright, I understand, so what do I do when I'm done with these errands? Minato asked. Why don't we cross that bridge when we come to it, Minato-kun? Kushina said. And so, Minato set himself out upon the village in disguise as his son. As Minato walked throughout the village, he noticed that he started receiving hateful glares. Those hurt him, he had never, ever been looked at in that way. Some even had the gall to yell hateful things such as, Kyuubi brat, or, demon. This dug a hole a little bit deeper in Minato's heart. He wasn't a demon, his son was. Then, he thought, oh my god, is this how Naruto feels every day? No wonder he left. Oh well, might as well run these errands. Oh look, there's a clothing store, might as well get that done. Minato thought as he walked into the store, but was halted before he could enter. Hold it right there, demon. The store owner yelled as he ran up to Minato. What? Minato asked. You see that sign, demon? The store owner said as he pointed to a sign on the door of the store. Oh wait. You're probably so stupid that you can't read it. Well, I'll tell you what it says. It basically says we don't let scum like you buy things at our store. Understand? Minato nodded solemnly. Good, now get the fuck out before I beat the lesson into you, the store owner yelled. As Minato solemnly waltzed out of the store, he looked back at the sign. It read, no drugs, dogs, or demons allowed in the store. On the sign was a picture of a stick figure in Naruto's silhouette that was smoking what looked like a doobie while mercilessly beating a dog. Clearly this was the villagers' excuse for humor. So then Minato went out in the search for another clothing store, but as he walked down the street, he noticed a lot of stores had that same sticker on their door. How did Naruto not go insane? How did he get things? Minato thought to himself. As Minato walked down the street, more and more people gave him hateful glares. Some gave him evil smiles, as though they were thinking of or remembering how they could mistreat him more than they already do. Finally, after about 2 hours of walking and finding almost every single shop having that damned sticker, he found a grocery store without a sticker. Finally, Minato thought to himself as he walked in. As Minato walked throughout the store, getting the few things he needed off of the list of items. The other customers in the store looked furious that they were shopping at the same time as the demon. Others just gave him the usual evil, blank stare. After about 30 minutes of looking for what he was there to get, he finished and found himself at the checkout counter with what he, the genius Hokage of Konoha, calculated to be about 35 ryu. He got his money ready and walked up to the counter. The man behind the register scowled at him and spoke in a venomous tone. Okay, Kyuubi brat. That'll be 67 ryu, the evil man said. What? But I added everything up, it should be 35 ryu. Minato said in an upset tone. The cashier quickly snatched up the money in Minato's hand before he spoke again. The cashier completely ignored Minato's previous retort as he said, okay demon, looks like you must have stolen from your daddy's piggy bank, so for that punishment, I will take this money from you, and you will be allowed to take this. The cashier growled as he held up the instant ramen in his hand. But that's worth 3 ryu, not 35. Minato yelled. Well, that does it. I was going to be nice to you because I thought you should eat just a little bit, but since you've decided to take up that tone with me, I guess I'll just let you starve, the cashier said with an evil grin on his face as he put the stolen 35 ryu in the register. Minato growled in frustration and anger as he continued to yell at the cashier, thus making a scene. He was so miffed he didn't even realize the 5 men that walked up behind him. The 5 men scooped Minato up. This brat causing you trouble, don't worry. We'll teach him a lesson, one man said to the cashier. They then took Minato outside as he struggled to get free from the men's grasp. The 5 men then dropped him down in the middle of the street. Okay demon, I think it's high time you learned not to mess with the mighty people of Konoha, one man yelled, causing some of the surrounding people to circle around the 6. Some chanting, kill the demon, or, let the Anbu kill him. Well, let's give the people what we want, shall we? Chuckled the leader of the 5 men as they surrounded Minato's body. A look of pure horror and anger filled his eyes as he wanted to Rasengan the 5 men for even thinking of hurting him. But then he remembered Kushina's words. Don't fight back. Those words echoed in his mind. So he just curled up into a ball. As the evil men kicked and punched Minato, he began to think about his son. Is this normal for Naruto? Why are so many people begging for his death? I know he is a demon, but does a child deserve this kind of treatment? I guess they think so. I never beat Naruto. I never really hated him so much as I hated the sight of him. He reminded me too much of Kushina. But this is making me wonder how he can act so chipper all the time with this sort of abusive treatment, Minato thought while the pain began to slow down. He thought it was over, but that was proven wrong as another man stopped and pulled something out. Survive this, demon, one evil man said as he pulled out a kunai and stabbed Minato in the leg. Minato's pain was great, but no matter what, he had to get away from the men. If they kept stabbing him, eventually he would die. And so, he ran to the rooftops, and he kept running until he reached the hospital emergency room. Please help me, I've been stabbed, Minato cried. But everyone in the hospital just ignored him. He did get a few looks of disgust in the waiting room though. He heard a few whispers along the lines of, how dare he expect treatment from here, and doesn't he know that hospitals treat humans, not demons? This disgusted Minato that doctors would refuse to treat an injured child. He started to get angry when a man walked up to him. Okay demon, let's get that cleaned up, the doctor said venomously. When the doctor finished, Minato asked a question. Why did you help me? You think I'm the Kyuubi, right? The doctor answered as he looked away towards the hallways, because as much as I hate you, I still have an oath obey. To help anyone who needs it. Be it a man or a demon like you. Your wound's been treated, no get the fuck out. The doctor retorted. The doctor's cruel tone made Minato's heart sink even lower in his chest. But at least he was treated, that more than he could say for the shops at the market. After Minato left the hospital, he was very hungry, and so he set out to find a place to eat. Every place he went had that same sticker until he came upon that so popular ramen stand. Hey there Naruto, what can I get ya? Tucci asked as Minato walked up to the counter. Oh, one miso please, Minato replied solemnly. What's wrong Naruto? The villagers again? Ayame asked Minato. Minato sighed before answering, yeah, I just wanted to buy some new clothes and some groceries, but they just denied me and overcharged me. Ayame looked down, she and her father knew how they treated Naruto. She felt bad for him. To never know love, only pain and isolation. Say Naruto, if you want, I can go buy those groceries you wanted for you. Ayame replied with a genuine grin on her face. Minato's face took a solemn look downwards as he spoke again. Sorry, I'd really appreciate that, but they took all my money that I had. Minato's head looked back up in shock and sorrow. Oh crap. They took all my money, I'm sorry Tucci-san, but you can stop making my order now, I don't have anything to pay you with. Maybe my dad will have something at the house. Minato replied with sorrow. Don't worry about it Naruto. You can pay me back when you're a success. So have you met your mother yet? She was by here earlier with Jiraiya from what I saw. Then they headed off to your dad's office. Tucci replied. Minato was deeply touched that not only would these kind people serve him, but they'd give it to him for free too. And they genuinely wanted to talk to him. And so, the meal went in that fashion. Minato only had one bowl on account of he didn't have as big an appetite as his wife and son. The Ichirakus asked why he only wanted one bowl and he said he felt bad for not being able to pay. This confused the ramen stand owners, but they accepted it. And so Minato began to feel true sorrow for his son. He felt bad for treating him the way he did. And he decided as soon as Naruto got back he would apologize and do everything in his power to make it up to Naruto. What is it? Did they find him? Kurenai asked. Nope, Hokage-sama just wants you to head back to Konoha, the toad ordered. Did he say why? Kurenai asked politely. Nope, now quit your dilly-dallying. The toad demanded to the Genjutsu mistress. Hi, all of Team 8 said as a collective. About 2 hours after Team 8 left, Naruto poked his head out from underneath the cottage. Looks like nobody's here, Naruto thought to himself. Off to Kumo, Naruto thought as he pumped his fist. About an hour later Naruto was at the gates of Kumo. Halt, state your name and business in Kumo, commanded the gatekeeper to the blonde boy. My name is Namikaze Naruto, and I am here because I am here to discuss something with the Raikage, responded Naruto. The gatekeeper spit up his coffee a bit with the name drop. You mean you're related to the Hokage? Only by name, Naruto responded without hesitating a bit. The gatekeeper scoffed, whatever. Here I'll get someone to take you to his office, the gatekeeper said to Naruto. About 20 minutes later Naruto was in the Raikage's office. So tell me Namikaze, why are you here and why shouldn't I kill you where you stand right now for your father's crimes against our village during the Third Shinobi War? The Raikage asked bluntly. Simple. 1. I am not my father. 2. I am the Kyuubi Jinchuuriki, therefore he, and everyone else in the leaf hates me, except for a couple people. Naruto immediately paused thinking of Jiraiya, Hinata, and the woman claiming to be his mother, and 3. He pulled out 2 scrolls. I can give you the Rasengan and Hirishin, Naruto dropped. The Raikage's eyes went wide for a second and then slimmed down. How do I know those aren't fakes and you're not a spy? An honest question. Naruto then did a hand sign and a shadow clone took a tri-pronged kunai from Naruto's pouch and went to the other side of the room. Naruto teleported to where his clone was. When he reappeared, in his hand was a Rasengan. Well, all that tells me is that you know it. Here. Let me see those scrolls, the Raikage quietly demanded. You think I was so stupid as to bring the real scrolls with me? They, along with myself, are at a secret location far outside the village walls. Once I get your response, I will be here within the hour, but not without you meeting a few of my demands for this agreement, Naruto stated. I see no reason as to why I can't trust this kid a little bit. After all, thanks to B, I know how Jinchuurikis are treated. I heard about the sealing the third Hokage did. Also, I wouldn't mind another Jinchuuriki as well as those 2 techniques of his father. Seems worth the risk, though the Raikage. Alright boy, I can see you can do them. That tells me you can at least teach us the techniques. Also, I wouldn't hate another Jinchuuriki in case of a time of war to protect the village. So tell me your demands. The Raikage said. Naruto nodded. I only have a few. 1. I wish for my heritage, and Jinchuuriki status to remain a secret amongst the lower-level citizens in the village. By that I mean anybody below Chunin cannot know who nor what I am without my consent. 2. I ask is that in 4 to 6 years, I be allowed to return to Konoha. I have a favor to return. And 3. I want citizenship or shinobi status in Kumo. That way, in case my heritage is found out, I am not taken by Konoha without them risking an international incident. Other than that and of course some living accommodations, I will do whatever you ask so long as it does not conflict with my conditions. Naruto said to the Kumo commander. Your demands seem fair. And in exchange you will give us the scrolls for the Hirishin and Rasengan? Raikage asked as he motioned himself to Naruto. Naruto nodded. Very well. I will give you what you ask for. But before you dispel and report to your original self, tell me something, Raikage demanded. Anything Raikage-sama, Naruto said. The Raikage smirked at how quickly he gained the allegiance of an enemy Kage. How did you learn the Kage Bunshin, Rasengan, and Hirishin at such an early age? Naruto smirked. I learned the Kage Bunshin from a scroll in my father's library. He doesn't really care about any jutsus but the Rasengan and Hirishin. So I had to learn those this past week after I took them, Naruto explained. The Raikage's eyes widened slightly and raised an eyebrow. You learned the Rasengan and Hirishin in a week? Well, not entirely. You see, I had the basics of both justice down from watching my father and Arrow Sennin Air, Jiraiya train. The scrolls one took just filled in the blanks I had in my brain. Naruto explained. Very well, you may go now. I will have an emissary of Chunin awaiting your arrival at the gate. From there you will stay at a hotel for the night as I am sure you are tired. Then starting tomorrow you are going to train to control your Biju with my brother B for 3 years. After that much time has passed, you will demonstrate your skills to me and I will determine your rank and status in the village. Then you will do missions until I see that you are ready to assist in any war efforts we may have. Are we understood? The Raikage asked. Naruto could barely contain all that information and just understood highlighted words such as B, train, control, Biju, 3 years, and missions. Then he finally responded, Hi. Good, the Raikage responded. Naruto dispelled. He will prove useful in the future. I wonder how he responds if and when he meets his father on the battlefield. Oh well, like I give a damn. Raikage thought before he ordered for a team of Chunin to greet Naruto at the gate with a Kumo headband. Meanwhile in Konoha, Team 8 was giving their report to a strange red-haired woman in the Hokage's seat. And so we didn't find anything miss. Kurenai said. Oh excuse me, where are my manners? I am the Hokage's wife, Kushina. Don't ask questions, all you need to know is I'm back now and now Minato is paying for driving our son away. So you didn't find anything Kushina asked, eyebrow raised. No Mrs. Hokage-sama, we found no traces of your son, I'm sorry. Kurenai said, sadly. Is that so then? Kurenai-san, whom was it that inspected the cabin near Kumo for you for again? Asked Kushina nonchalantly. That would be Hinata, Kushina-sama, replied Kurenai. Very well, you may leave, but Hinata, could you please stay a moment longer? I wish to question you further about the cabin, said Kushina. And so Kiba, Shino, and Kurenai left. Hinata, please be honest with me. Did you see my son in the cabin? I care about him very much and I know for a fact that I left him in that cabin so that I can retrieve him later. I ask this because if he were not there, he would be in Kumo. And that would be a very, very, very bad thing, said Kushina. Hi, Kushina-sama. I saw him there, but he told me about his time here, and so I let him go. I am very sorry, Kushina-sama. He is probably in Kumo right now, Hinata said, tears falling slowly from her face as she averted Kushina's gaze and looked down. Kushina began to cry as she spoke again. It's okay, Hinata. It was your fault, it was his father's. Did he say anything about coming home? Probably not, but I just need to know if there's a possibility, Kushina said with tears now adorning her eyes. Hinata's face shot up. Hi Kushina-sama, I made him promise to come home to do a favor for me in 4 to 6 years. Hinata replied. Kushina's tears stopped as she raised an eyebrow and looked at the Hyuga. And what favor might that be, Hinata-chan? Kushina said as she added the suffix. Kushina began to feel a sort of connection to Hinata as they both knew, and were saddened by Naruto's treatment by the village and his father. Hinata blushed madly as she poked her index fingers together and began to stutter, www. Well. I mean Hinata was looking down and her fingers were becoming numb from poking her fingers together so rapidly. Kushina raised her eyebrow at Hinata as she began to stifle a giggle and was able to figure out what Hinata wanted of her son. Hinata-chan. Would you happen to want to marry my son? I am aware of the Hyuga custom of getting married by 18, Kushina said. Hinata just fainted. Kushina smiled as she began to talk to nobody in particular, my future daughter-in-law everybody. Kushina's mood quickly fell. Now I have to get Minato to negotiate for our son back from Kumo. But no matter what happens, Minato is going to have hell to pay, Kushina thought. Halfway across Konoha, a disguised Minato was getting viciously beaten by some villagers when he sneezed. Damn it, what did I do now? Minato thought to himself. For the past year Minato has been in negotiations with Kumo to get his son back. Unfortunately almost all efforts have been fruitless as according to Jiraiya's spy network he is off training somewhere with someone. Both Kushina and Minato often cry themselves to sleep. Hinata cries herself to sleep almost every night but can't help but pray that he will come home and feel comforted by thoughts of the future they may have together. Meanwhile in Kumo, the Raikage is having trouble with Konoha as the Hokage can't stop breathing down his neck about his son. To keep him quiet for a little while the Raikage gave back the scrolls for the Rasengan and Hirishin. Seeing as in the past year he had the scrolls not a single shinobi in the village was able to learn the two techniques. As for Naruto his training in Kyuubi's chakra was going swimmingly. He was able to openly and easily access the Kyuubi's chakra without losing control, like how he is in the manga right now. And it only took him about 6 months to be able to do so. But all throughout his training he couldn't seem to get a certain blue-haired beauty off of his mind. 2 years after Naruto's abandonment of Konoha. 6 months ago Kushina brought back Tsunade from wherever it was she was hiding. A week after that happened, Minato announced what he was doing for the past year and a half and announced his son's abandonment. He then continued to say how disappointed he was in his village for treating anyone so badly as Naruto was treated and that since he was no longer able to be Hokage because he couldn't even keep his own son safe in his village. So how could he keep an entire village safe? But people that actually listened to the speech and knew him was because he now hated the villagers for their treatment of his son. Regardless of his previous attitude towards his son, the villagers of course were baffled, The Hokage said he couldn't keep his village safe almost immediately after he killed Orochimaru during a sand invasion in the middle of the Chunin Exams. Due to the ability and ethic displayed both during the Chunin Exams and during the invasion, Hinata Hyuga was promoted to Chunin rank after her second try on the exam. This was a welcome thanks for the clan after Hinata was rudely defeated by her cousin Neji on her first attempt. The council was furious, however Hiashi understood. FYI. This is a FIC where Hiashi is a good dad and not an evil bastard. He had been a shinobi and understood how difficult the first Chunin exams were. Hinata was proud of herself and still couldn't wait to see Naruto again to prove just how strong she was to impress him. In Kumo, things hadn't changed much in the 2 years Naruto was gone. They mostly received reports on other nations. When they heard of the invasion of the Leaf and the death of Orochimaru, then the resignation of their Hokage, they really didn't care. The Raikage actually laughed because he felt they had it coming. They were still breathing down his neck about Naruto and he felt they had it coming. Naruto had proven to be an invaluable asset according to B's reports on their training. As for Naruto, he was a tad worried for Hinata, and even wrote her but was relieved to hear she was okay. She seemed to be doing well too, she had made Chunin. He wrote her again and told her how proud he was of her. His training was going well, he finally was able to make an arrangement with the Kyuubi and could now do partial transformations like Killer B. B said that just another year and he may be able to do a complete transformation. 3 years after Naruto's abandonment of Konoha. In Konoha, times were relatively boring. There was little to no laughter ever since Naruto left, and without the threat of Orochimaru things were very boring. Some genin teams actually begged for the daimyo's wife's cat mission because it was the most exciting mission they could get. Hinata of course made Junin thanks to her battle experience and tutelage of both Jiraiya and Tsunade, both training her because of Kushina's personal request. She was very excited to meet Naruto again because she felt she was ready. She had confidence in herself. Her clan supported her as heiress despite her lack of using Jukin. Kushina and Minato were still racked in sorrow. They still openly entered negotiations with Kumo, and the negotiations were getting more and more hands-on ever since Minato stepped down as Hokage. They actually went to Kumo a few times. Naruto was finally done with his training. He was capable of full transformation without losing control. But he definitely did not rely on the Kyuubi. He was quite the capable shinobi without it. He was looking forward to 2 things now. 1. Showing the Raikage his skills, and 2. Seeing Hinata-chan again. Over the 3 years he grew to be openly devout to her. Their letters to each other became longer and longer. The average response letter for each other was now up to 3 pages. They even said that they loved each other. It wasn't as romantic as if they were in person, but they both felt the comfort and joy of saying it to each other. When Hinata first read that Naruto loved her, her heart melted with joy and she fainted. She wasn't able to respond to his letter a good 3 days after receiving it, making Naruto very nervous. Every so often they sent each other pictures along with the regular letters. Naruto thought she was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. He told her so in a few letters. When Hinata first received a photo of Naruto at his current age, he had no shirt on and she passed out from a near-fatal nosebleed. She wasn't able to read it for an entire day until she woke up. 4 years after Naruto's abandonment of Konoha, aka present time. It had been an entire year since the Raikage chose to make Naruto a Junin in Kumo for his control of the Kyuubi. There had been rumors of an evil organization called Akatsuki were hunting Jinchuurikis, but B and Naruto weren't worried. Minato and Kushina still attempted negotiation with Kumo and visited Kumo at least once every few months or so. Coincidentally, every time they visited, Naruto was out on a mission. Hinata and Naruto still sent letters to each other. Naruto was planning on surprising her by making his visit on her next birthday. That happened to be the same birthday she was required to start to narrow down her possible husbands. Little did Naruto know that she only had her eye on one guy. Now, Naruto was standing in the Raikage's office to get his next mission. Naruto, you have served me well this past year. And I trust you to the utmost. Also, between you and me, your parent will stop by here for another negotiation meeting, the Raikage said. I can't believe how persistent they are. When will they realize, I'm your weapon, not theirs, Naruto responded. Naruto had been told since he heard of his parents' negotiations that they stopped by to try and get him back. He had been told they wanted him as a weapon for Konoha, not because they loved him and wanted him back. This was easy for Naruto to believe as he knew his mother for a whole 4 hours and his father had hated him with a passion last time he checked. Neither he nor Hinata had thought to bring up his parents because they both knew how awkward it would be and how bitter it may become between them. Ha ha ha, exactly Naruto. Now, this is perfect timing because while they are here, I need to send an emissary to Sand for the Chunin exams. You will guide and protect the genin squads as they make their way to Suna, and you will check them all into the exams and hotel. You're essentially their counselor, the Raikage told Naruto. Fantastic. What rank is this mission, and how long do you think it will take? Naruto asked. B rank, only because of time. Who the hell is going to attack an emissary of shinobi? The Raikage replied. Anyway, good luck. Also say hello to the case cage for me. You will represent me until I arrive next month for the finals. He is a Jinchuuriki like you. His name is Gaara, the Raikage said. Hi Raikage-sama, Naruto bowed. And so Naruto exited the Raikage's office and met with 5 Kumo genin teams at the gate an hour later. The next day Naruto went to the Suna case cage's office to admit the squads to the exams. When Naruto walked in he saw the other people form emissaries of several shinobi villages, such as Grass, Waterfall, Rain and Konoha. When Naruto saw the mass of blue hair his heart stopped and he shoved his way to the figure. He then tapped on her shoulder and as he saw her face he didn't even take the time to let her talk. He just charged his lips to hers immediately. She had her eyes wide open at first but then saw his face, her heat leapt and she closed her eyes and enjoyed the kiss. The kiss was deep, it was passionate. To sum up all the lovey-dovey emotions all in one from the both of them. This kiss was the balls. They stood there, just holding their lips to each other's lips, no deeper, for about 30 seconds before they remembered where they were and back away from each other and looked into the shocked faces of several ambassadors of several villages. Sorry, they both said in unison. Very well. Please save the rest of whatever that was for later. You still need to listen to what I have to say, the case cage Gaara said. After a minute of awkward silence of the case cage filing out the last of the genin squad information, Gaara spoke up. Now then, we have received reports that the Akatsuki has been moving around the land of wind and its surrounding nations. We know that they are after Jinchuuriki, we don't know why though. Which is why I must tell you now that I am a Jinchuuriki. So therefore there may or may not be an attack during the exams by the Akatsuki. If you wish to take your teams out of the exams for their safety I will understand and I give you my sincerest apologies, the young case cage said. Naruto spoke up next after Hinata and him shared a look of worry. I am also a Jinchuuriki. So if you still wish to stay please know that they may know of my being here. And for that I sincerely apologize but I cannot return to Kumo by orders of my Raikage, Naruto said. Very well then, Gaara started. Is there anybody who wishes to withdraw your genin from these exams? I again fully understand and sincerely apologize, Gaara said. I wish to withdraw my genin case cage-sama, a representative form Grass said. Me too case cage-sama, said the waterfall representative. Very well. But are you sure? I remind you that I am aware of Naruto-san here and I assure you if the rumors of him are indeed true he has complete control of the Kyuubi and is according to my sources, of cage-level strength. Your genin should be safe between 2 cage-level Jinchuuriki, responded the Sand Village leader. I am sure Case Cage-sama, said the Grass representative. I rebuke my statement Case Cage-sama, said the Waterfall representative. Very well, I apologize again to you all. And please give your leader my sincerest apologies Grass representative, said the Sand Jinchuuriki. I have a name you know. You knew the Kumo representative's name, the Grass representative said. I don't care, said the case cage in a dull voice. After the Grass representative left Gaara addressed the room one last time. Well then, I again apologize for causing you to worry. And I give your teams luck in the exams, said the case cage. After they left the case cage office Naruto pulled Hinata to the side. What are you doing here Hinata-chan? Asked Naruto. I was assigned by Tsunade-sama Naruto-kun. Same as your leader ordered you. Why, are you not excited to see me? Hinata asked. Worried whether or not Naruto truly loved her. Of course not Hina-chan. I love you. Why would I not be happy to see you? Responded Naruto with a kiss. Oh Naru-kun, started Hinata, you're such a smoothie. Hee, you bet Hinata-chan, said Naruto to his beloved. Just then, a boy with red triangles under his eyes walked towards Hinata. Hey Hinata, Kiba said. He then looked at Naruto holding Hinata by her waist. Who's this creep? Kiba-kun, he's not a creep. He is my Naruto-kun. And I love him, said Hinata rudely to Kiba while still in Naruto's arms. The sound of Hinata calling Naruto hers brought joy to his heart as he ignored the outside world and just looked at her. When she turned back to him, they kissed shortly. No, oh no. Hinata, you can't love him. He's the traitor demon, Kiba yelled. This statement brought Naruto out of his stupor of love and he let go of Hinata and walked over to Kiba. Wanna say that again, dog breath? Said Naruto as he got more and more up in Kiba's face. Kiba shoved Naruto out of his personal space. I said. Hinata can't love a demon like you, demon. She's too nice for that. Let go of whatever genjutsu you have on her before I kill you myself. Kiba growled. Kiba-kunai, said Hinata before she was cut off by Naruto moving his hand to stop her from walking towards him. Naruto then whispered in her ear. I've got a plan to mess with him, Hina-chan. Just follow my lead. Alright dog boy, Naruto started. Kai, Naruto said. Nothing happened. Something clicked inside Hinata's head. Nothing happened. Hinata then charged Naruto and jumped on top of him, kissing him slowly and passionately. Naruto, a little shocked by the sudden movement, moved his hands to her back and began caressing her back in little circles. Hinata then got a mischievous smirk into the kiss and shoved her tongue in Naruto's mouth. Naruto was a little surprised and first but not for long as his tongue massaged hers gently. Kiba was still standing there, shocked at what he was seeing. Was there a genjutsu to make him too less attractive to her or something? Jesus, wait a minute? Hinata, noticing Kiba still standing there, made a bold move. She took Naruto's hand off of her back and moved it to her ass. Naruto was a little surprised but smiled into the kiss. Then Kiba finally reacted. Get her off of you, demon, he yelled. Hinata finally looked up, disconnecting her lips from his, slobber abundant on her chin. But Naruto's hand still on her ass as she spoke. Kiba. He is not a demon. He is nice, polite, kind-hearted, patient, loving, and everything you're not. So with all due respect, Hinata thought for a polite phrase for a moment. Fuck off. I've waited 4 years for this. And with that she bounced back down to Naruto's lips, sliding her tongue gingerly in and out of his mouth. Kiba was still mad, but decided to talk to her later. And left. After Kiba left, Hinata got off of Naruto and helped him stand up. Are you okay, Naruto-kun? That wasn't out of line, was it? I thought it would be a good prank to shock Kiba, said Hinata to an open mouth, smiling Naruto. No, that was amazing. I thought it was funny when you told him to fuck off, responded Naruto. Hinata then walked back up to him and got very close while seductively twirling her finger on his chest. So, can you think of anything you might want to do? Anywhere, said Hinata in the most seductive tone she could muster. Said Naruto as a trickle of blood came out of his nose. Hinata noticed this and said, why don't we continue this conversation elsewhere? Hinata paused as she grabbed his hand. Like maybe my hotel room, said Hinata with a certain twinkle in her eye. Naruto's nose continued to bleed as she spoke. Why must she say such wide things? All Naruto could do was nod. Hinata smirked as she led Naruto to her hotel. That's all for now. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments.